Today we're going to make a bike rack out of copper pipe fittings. I'm going to start with a T-shaped fitting that goes from 2 inches in diameter down to 3/4 of an inch in diameter. I'm just going to take a Sharpie and mark 2 straight lines down the side of the fitting to use as a guide while I cut it. I'm going to clamp the pipe fitting down to my table and then use my angle grinder with a metal cutting blade to make the cuts. At first I just score along the surface of the pipe fitting to create a groove, and then I go through and cut it. It's easier this way to keep the cuts nice and straight because you create a groove along the line, and then once you're trying to cut all the way through, the blade just follows along within the groove. Cutting copper pipe is really easy. You can just take this little hand tool called a pipe cutter, you clamp it around the copper pipe, and then just twist it until it's scored, and then eventually it'll just snap right off. Once my 3/4 inch pipe is cut to length, I can now clean the pipes and prepare them for soldering. I use steel wool to clean the pipes, and then a wire brush tool to score and scratch the surfaces of the pipe so that they'll connect much more solidly when I solder them together. I'm going to apply flux with a little brush to both the inside of the pipe fitting and to the end of the pipe as well. Sweating copper is not one of my strong points, but in general for something like this it's not too difficult. Since I don't really need it to be watertight, I just need it to hold together. So I'm going to use my torch to heat up the copper and then apply the solder to the hot pipe fittings. So once the pipes are properly heated, the solder will melt upon contact, and it will move into the places where you had applied the flux. The entire weight of the bike is going to be on this joint, so I also want to heat the inside of the pipe fitting and apply solder there as well. Now the edges of the cut pipe fitting are pretty rough, so I'm going to use a drum sander on my cordless drill to smooth them down. I use steel wool to remove all the marks and discolorations that came from the soldering process. Soldering can be a little bit intimidating if you haven't done it before, but you can also make this project just using a cordless drill with mechanical connections. Just drill a hole through both the fitting and through the pipe, and then use a nut and bolt to connect the fitting to the pipe. You can even use the angle grinder with a flap disc to grind the bolt down flush to the surface of the nut. A wire brush attachment to your cordless drill is a great way to clean the copper quickly. I turned the project over to my sister Jessie so that she would line it with some felt so that it wouldn't scratch a bike. She used a 2-part epoxy to glue the felt to the copper and used paper clips to hold it into place. The rack's basically done, we just need to install it now. I'm going to hang it from the ceiling, so I want to make sure that I'm actually screwing into a structural member and not just into drywall. So I used a stud finder to find the location of the structural members. I then used copper pipe hanging loops to secure either end of the T-fitting to the ceiling. The rack works great, and I really love the minimalism of the form combined with the flashiness of the shiny copper. For more detailed instructions, check out my website, and if you're interested in seeing what I'm working on next, be sure to follow me on social media. And sign up for Ryobi Nation, where you can win the same tools that I use in all my projects, and also have the opportunity to post your own projects. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already.